7 o'clock, let's go ahead and get the meeting started. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Cynic.
Here.
Crocus.
Here.
Roof.
Here.
Campbell.
Here.
And Fletcher.
I just received a text that Rick won't be at the meeting, won't be here. Number 4, approval of the previous minutes from August 24th. I'm just going to take a look at it.
I would like them to be amended, where it says public hearing, that the verbiage would read public comment, not public hearing.
We need a motion for that, don't we?
Do we?
Yeah, somebody can't just change it unless everybody agrees.
Okay. Other changes or other, so we can do it at once.
So I would make that motion if everything else looks good.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any additional comments?
One roll.
Please.
Cynic.
Yes.
Crocus.
Yes.
Roof.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. Corrected minutes are approved. Take a look at the agenda for this evening. Any comments? Anything added?
Have you had any conversation with Rick regarding a public hearing on the ordinance of township dwellings?
Nope. Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We may approve the agenda.
Approve the agenda, thanks. Public comment on agenda items only.
You want me to step up?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Step up, state your name, 3 minutes.
Okay, Lori DeShano, 1795 South Huron Road. On the agenda tonight, I see that the master plan is on there. It was recently brought to my attention that Monitor Township is currently seeking public comment for their master plan, and I'm curious when the last time was Cocallan Township actually asked for the input of the public on the development of the master plan. I don't recall a time, certainly not in the last 2.5 years. States in the master plan draft that I was shown that is a huge component, that the citizens are sharing what they want to see for the future of our township that is funded by their money. And I can't recall the last time that happened. And I think that's not right. In addition to that, I see that you're going to be looking at short-term rentals. Depending on the conversation, I applaud that being part of the discussion. We had a phenomenal piece of public input for the public hearing that was scheduled back in August. Phenomenal piece that brought up really great points about what's actually happening with short-term rentals and what the problems are with short-term rentals. In addition to that, I would add that we have a growing number of long-term rentals in this township that are causing other issues. We have motels that are being used as apartments. We have some questions about that related to requiring dumpsters versus allowing residential trash bins. Obviously, there is a benefit to being considered residential rather than commercial. But if you are renting 6 to 8 apartments, residential trash bins no longer work. So I would implore you, as you're looking at short-term rentals, to also consider long-term rentals. Both need to be addressed so that we can deal with them consistently across the township to meet the needs of our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad Eddy, 1890 South Huron Road. I'd also like to talk about the master plan. Being on the agenda, I did see on Facebook that Monitor is looking for input from the residents. I do think that that is a very wise decision. Also, I would like to have a place for the public to view any of the maps that you guys have been working on, because I still see inconsistencies with what I've seen in the past that you guys have had actually on the desk here, during your meetings. So if we could get any of the master plan communications, it sure would be nice for the public to be able to view those also. I did go over a FOIA that a township resident had on the master plan with supposed to be all of the planning commission members, and it did not have for the master plan. I don't believe that the few FOIAs that I had witnessed in the master plan would make it so that you'd make as many changes as a board to the community. There's so many different properties changing that it don't make sense to me. There's zoning that is different than what properties are zoned, and that's the future land use and the master plan. The existing land use, I can prove many problems with those maps, and I haven't seen any FOIAs where I brought it to the board and you guys got a hold of Spicer to go over those land discrepancies I was talking about earlier with property lines. So I have not seen any communications, so I feel that you guys are a long ways out on your master plan and notifying the community of these changes. And the accuracy, I hope, matters to all of you. So that's where I'd like to leave it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Closing public comment. Moving on to old business, master plan. Did any of you guys request, was this one of your items to put on the agenda? Gary?
No.
Don?
No.
Charlie?
No.
So it was Rick's?
I do know, I looked over this today to make sure that those changes that we asked about from the first draft were truly in this draft. I came in the office, we went through this, not just myself, but Melissa, to make sure those modifications were made in the draft that's dated 4/14 of 23, and they are in here. The ones adjusting the amount of miles of roads, adding Hampton Township, because the previous clerk had commented there needed to be 5 modifications, and all those modifications did get made. Because Melissa was wondering, did they make it in it? So when I came in, we went through the document to make sure those modifications were there. So the one that is dated 4/14/23 does have those necessary adjustments made.
Did you look at the maps to see if the changes that were requested, that we tabled it back in April for boundary lines, were those addressed with Spicer? Are you sure?
That I would have to double check with what I have back here.
All right, then this is, unfortunately, I'm kind of,
We want the maps looked at.
I think, is Isn't that the problem with the motion to accept the ordinance to amend the Cucahoga Township zoning ordinance? Didn't we have to do, what was it that had to have a public hearing? We didn't actually have a public hearing last time.
No, yeah.
So
No.
that's what's gonna get talked about, that's gonna have to go on the next time, so that it's
Okay,
gonna
but
have
I don't think this, I'm gonna make a motion, we table it, because unfortunately, I didn't put the agenda together, and
Correct.
I got a text that Rick wouldn't be here, who put the agenda together. I'm gonna make a motion that we table the master plan until next month, until either Rick's here or we know why it was on the agenda. Discussion,
No, I agree.
you want roll call that?
Rokas,
Yes.
Rook,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cynic.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to new business. Don, Gary, Charlie, was this study of short-term rental ordinance, was this requested by either of any of you?
No.
No.
I was looking into some after I saw it on here.
Then I'm gonna make a motion that we table this as well. Again, this was not my agenda. I don't know why Rick has it on there.
I think
And I'm not
the
prepared
study of the short-term rentals was just, it was brought to the attention of the board, and the discussion was around getting verbiage together to address it, but not at this time addressing it.
no argument, Gary, but it should go out to Spicer to
Correct.
give us a broad mix of potential options
I agree.
to potentially look at, and we
Should
don't have
we
any.
reach out to them? We can look to reach out to them
Yeah.
for next meeting?
I'll talk with Rick, what his thoughts were, but he'll have to bring it back, and if he's not here, then I'll make that sure that we have something going forward.
Need a second on that motion?
I'll second it. To reach out to Spicer in reference to short-term rentals.
Roll call.
Yes, please.
Rook,
Being it's on the agenda, I think we
Yes.
should.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cynic,
Yeah.
Rokas.
Yes. Moving on to correspondence. Mr. Secretary, do we have any correspondence?
The only correspondence we still have floating out there is the one from Lauren that was in reference to terrace dwelling.
But we all have that from last month,
I
right?
believe everybody did have a hard copy of it.
You handed that out last month, right?
I'm just making sure,
It was in our last month's package.
as long as everybody has a copy.
And that was on the agenda, I mean, last
Yeah.
month, I've got email from Lauren.
Because
You
until-
made, you had it in everyone's package last month.
I understand that, I'm just saying, until we get to the public hearing, this cannot fall off. This has to walk along the road with it.
Okay. No new correspondence.
No new, just the previous one.
Thank you. Board meeting report.
The only question I have is in conversations that have taken place over the last 24 hours in reference to that tourist dwelling, we were talking of there being a hearing held at our November meeting. So are we going to, as a board, agree to a hearing in the November meeting, which will be the Thursday before the township meeting? So then the turnaround literally will be that the township board will get that document finally.
I can't answer, Charlie, I can't answer that. I don't think anybody here can, because what you mentioned about a zoning
Well, it's a-
issue,
yeah,
I
well,
don't think any of us know about that. We got our agenda today.
I know. Well, and I'm as surprised as you are, because I spoke with Rick several times with a thread of documents, just trying to get through it, as well as to, he reviewed once again, you got a copy of this late this afternoon, because he asked for that again, and Melissa sent that so that you got it, and I got it, and he got it.
Did.
To help us better make sure. administrator's report's the only other really big thing. He was really busy this month. And
Just to clarify, is this the one from, submitted to the planning commission, or is this the one from, that was submitted from?
this is the one that came through to the board, and that's what's been happening. And the Board of Trustees have received their reports. I've brought those reports over to this board so that this board understands what our zoning administrator is doing, since technically, if the problem comes to us, we forward it to him, and then he deals with that problem. So, the only two items that were not sent out yet, but will be dealt with, is the trailer along M13. We now have the approved complaint form so that it can go to court, because the old forms were no longer considered legal. The new ones had to be modified. And so the trailer and the auto on M13 are going to be dealt with also, besides the others.
Do we have to approve this, or just,
I think we just accept it.
any questions?
Whenever.
Any questions specifically on
We
it?
just say everybody received a copy.
Okay.
Let's step back to the board meeting report. Charlie, you were talking about a special meeting to address the vacation dwellings in Linwood, as we had before,
Yes.
and that would
Let me
be,
turn, because I can't. now I can
that
see
would be
this.
at the same time as
Our
our regular meeting?
Yes,
So we combine.
yes, because
So then, we would have,
hypothetically, we could host it, and we would be able to have it the first week of the month of November. But since the way the month falls, and we're having a meeting on the 9th, which will be 4 days before the township meeting, the time would work, and then nobody has to try and jockey their schedule around to be able to have.
Okay, but why is this back on our, any type of, why is it back in our
Court?
Yeah.
protocol.
I believe it's back in our court because when everything was done, we did not have an official public meeting, a public hearing. If you go to other government meetings, when they go to talk about an ordinance of this nature, they will say the public hearing is now open. Does anyone have any input? Does anyone have any input? Does anyone have, and even if nobody has any input, then you close the public hearing. We did, if we go to the recordings say public comment. And so it's a play on words. We had a hearing, but we did not use the word hearing. I did not catch that until it was brought to my attention. That's my bad as well. And so, Rick and I have discussed this. And just because of how the verbiage went through, we need to make very sure that we dot our i's and cross our t's.
That's fine.
So that's what.
You and Rick are the only ones that are apprised of that. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna set any meetings,
Yeah,
on behalf of Rick, so.
but that'll be.
He can put out the public notification of
Yes.
a meeting
Yes.
on Monday or tomorrow. Or
We don't have to
whenever
put
he's
it out
available.
this week. We have another week that we actually can put that out.
Okay.
And so, but this way, everyone understands what happened,